We're going to be learning what is really important to a foal and what is important for a foal to learn. We're going to be talking about teaching our foals how to enter into the space of conversation. How should your foal approach you to create a likable character? I'm going to be showing you how to make those first steps in creating first connections and how to teach your foal to want to enter into the space of conversation. The difference between trying to put a halter on a foal and teaching them to put a halter on themselves. So I'm really glad you guys have chose to join us. Let's get started.
Hey guys, Tristan, we're live.
Good evening.
We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. The screen was flickering.
Well, hopefully now that our faces are on camera, then the flickering will stop.
I hope so. Maybe people can let us know in the chat if they see like a screen flickering or not. And if so, we'll think of a solution.
Wiggle the cords a little.
Yeah, wiggle the cords, slap it around a bit.
So guys, we're here for our foal training evening. It's of course, Connie, that time of the year where Connie happens to have obtained a couple of foals, which we'll hear about later. But of course, for many of you, you probably also have foals at home. Tonight's training is, of course, to address the certain things when you can start. You know, when should we start with our foals? How old should they be when they start? Of course, in Europe, I feel a lot of horses that come to me later on, maybe yearlings, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and of course a lot of the characteristics, the experiences, the previous memory, emotions to certain events that they've already experienced are part of the character building.
Is it like a difference with Australia? Do you see like a difference in culture? And
it's different everywhere, and also because of the climate. A lot of the foals are brought up in Australia, of course, outside, so they can be totally free. And of course, in Europe, they're a lot in free stables.
Yeah.
They're all together in a group and, you know, put in a setup where, they're experiencing a lot of things on the property, tractors and things like that. Through my experience being home in Australia, through working with thoroughbreds, they have quite a good culture in, this is also nice, he's already creating an introduction.
yeah.
Or he's about to run off and kick me in the back because he doesn't like the smell of my... But yeah, and that's the same in a lot of places, also in Ireland, a lot of studs in the UK, that they have a guy that specifically comes in and it's his job then to start the handling process. And of course somebody
When
that
they're
is...
like 3 years old, you mean?
No, as foals.
Oh.
So, and of course in the racing industry, a lot of the time the horses are sold as yearlings. In the yearling sales, because they of course already have to be running and earning money as 2-year-olds. So there's normally a guy that comes in for that job specifically, and of course if that's your job, to have the horses that they are halter broken, pick up the legs, you know, do all the normal things, you can lead them, they develop a certain technique. And of course there are still guys that are what we call manhandling, you know, getting the job done, lassoing, you know, getting the job done basically. And not that anybody sets out to do the wrong thing, you know, we are all just doing the best we can to get the result that we want. Of course I see that a lot, as I was saying in the beginning, with horses coming, yearlings, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, that a lot of the characteristics can be different if you spend just that little bit of time in the foal handling process. And of course, a lot of the time you feel from their experiences that they've been in a situation where they've had to get it done. Maybe a lot of big stables in Europe have a lot of foals and they don't have the time.
Yeah, and then the farrier comes and then has,
and they have an incident, or, you know, and sometimes they may be successful in the way they're doing it. We do it like this because we've always done it like that. And of course the horses then experience having to get it done kind of deal, instead of, you know, the education of teaching them what to think before we ask the question. All of these processes which takes a little bit of time in the beginning, but if you're prepared to just take those few more minutes, then you get a completely different result, and also for the future. So tonight I will of course only show you what I do, because that's all I can show you.
Thank God.
But this is what I was employed to do in a lot of places and spaces throughout the world, also in Australia.
Oh, so you actually went to the stables?
Yes, so I had some jobs at some times to be handling foals, numbers of them, to get them started, to get them caught. Sometimes they come in a big group with lots of different ages, and you have to separate them and decide what is what. That's also the process of handling and things like that. And of course, we have now here in Europe, my in-laws have their own breeding 2 foals a year, and they are also doing the TRT practice, of course, and their foals are very well handled. But it's really to be able to spend that time. So we'll be talking tonight about, well, we give the answer right away, when is it time? And I'm always in the feeling that it's if you're old enough to stand, they're old enough to stand, they're old enough to learn. They're learning the moment they are on their feet. So if we can start to be able to shape them and help them to understand their body, to be balanced and to be secure and safe, and not that there's searching and finding that in whichever way life brings it to them, we can already start to get them to find their body in a way that it's going to be beneficial later for riding, things like that. And of course, you know, they have to also be left to be horses, but that small introduction in the beginning of learning that, and also getting to know, if you can get to know how your foal is from the beginning, you know, you're getting a really pure character, something that's not already experienced things, and you may mistake a certain experience and a memory to an event as a characteristic of their personality. So you really get to know them, and them to get to know you. What is it about? How do you approach? How to have a conversation? How should the conversations be? And if we don't spend that time in the beginning, the conversations that they have are sometimes something that's in a hurry. Someone has to get a halter on them. You may not have done any handling, and all of a sudden they get their leg stuck in the fence and you have to put them on the trailer, these sorts of things. So it's really takes a little time in the beginning, but if we can just spend those few minutes, it's very beneficial in the end. So we'll go through those points. What we see here is we've already started, we have an interaction. So, and of course for you guys at home, it could be different. Every situation is going to be different. You're only going to be working with the foal or the horse you have in that moment. It's going to be different, of course, if the foal is 2 days old and has just stood up. It's going to be different if the foal is still on the mare. It's going to be different, of course, for these guys because they are weaned. They've already experienced some things. They've had to do some things.
Yes. They'll have a different association with the hand clapper.
So those sorts of things we have to take into account. But it's always just to start a conversation and explaining to them how to be in the most comfortable position. We want to start by, you know, I always like to think myself consistently, okay, there's a general idea of what is important to a foal, and what is important for a foal to know. So the first thing of what is important to a foal is only that position of comfort.
Can I interrupt like 1 second? I want to know, like, from the technical part, is the flickering, has it stopped? It has stopped.
Well, see that? If you just put the right thing in front of the screen, don't get too close, the screen might crack. So what is important to a foal? It's that position of comfort. And they know from the beginning, instinctually, that position of comfort is with the mother. So if we're starting from the beginning and we try to come between that safety, that connection of contact, then we are automatically going to be seen as something negative. They can get used to it, of course. They think, oh, I didn't die, he's here again. Oh, I didn't die again, and they get used to it. But you can also teach them a level of connection. How to create that new connection with humans that gives the same sensation of security and understanding of themselves as they do with the instinct from their mother. So that's the important thing, to remember that always, that they're only looking for a position of comfort. So anything you do that challenges that is going to be forcing them into the flight-fight reaction. And of course, from the beginning, what is then important to the foal is always got to be in the back of the mind when we start to go through the list of what is important for a foal to know. So sometimes we can get a little bit ahead of ourselves thinking, okay, I've got to put a halter on. And we jump straight to that without thinking what is important to him. So of course the important things in the end will be to put the halter on, to pick up the feet, to teach them to lead. But the first steps is that entering into the space of conversation.
That he wants to.
That he wants to do it.
Yeah.
And of course you're going to get two spectrums of that. You're going to get your bold foals that are going to walk up. They maybe have a very sweet mother and a father that has the characteristic also of being very upfront. So entering into that space in the correct way to be polite is also really important. The way we've started here is a really nice way, because when I come into the space in the beginning, I don't want to be walking in and thinking, okay, our job is foal training today, let's go to the foal. We go straight in the box and we already start to take over the space of conversation. So the idea of you know, thinking that we're going in and maybe we have an idea to create leadership, and of course you have to be a guiding mentor, someone that's going to give the foal good information about the energy and about what's going in that space, but you're not walking in the lead and say, today we're going to put the halter on you, because then you forget what's important to him, and that's to be comfortable. So this start, when we come in, we're already starting the training. You might come in with the foal and you might be just doing something. And then you start to get the curiosity. The foal starts to want to think, oh, what are you doing there? Just the same as when they come into a new group and they're with mum and they see another foal and, you know, oh, what's he doing over there? You kind of get that. So you start to lure that curiosity.
And this is already like a big difference from when I picked him up. But maybe we can go to the video in which I explain.
Let's learn a little bit about him.
So let's go to the video from Rolex. Hey guys, so this is Rolex, a stallion, Dutch warm blood, Fontaine by Governor. I bought him at an online auction. And the funny thing is that filming day of that online auction was at this table. So I was able to watch all the foals, and not every foal presents himself that well on camera. So maybe you can imagine they have to do a line in walk, trot and canter, and some foals spook on that line, and then behind the camera they show themselves pretty. Dang, 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 dang. Okay, so the videos are still flickering, so we couldn't really play the video because someone might get a headache or epileptic or we don't want that. So I'll tell a little bit the story. Rolex, I bought him at the online foal auction, and the funny thing is that foal auction was here at my stable, so the filming of the foal auction. And you can probably imagine that on that day a lot of foals are coming, and I was just sitting there watching all the foals, and they had to do like trot, canter and walk on a certain line. But some foals spooked a bit, or when they were doing trot they would jump into canter, and they didn't present themselves that well on camera. But some foals were doing pretty well when they were not on camera. And Rolex was one of them, and he was really young. And I thought, well, maybe he can be interesting. So I was able to buy him. I picked him up about a week ago, and when I went into the stable, he was literally afraid of me. So I was thinking, okay, this might not be a great start. Also, he didn't really have a lot of experience with putting the halter on, leading, so it was also quite a challenge to get him on the trailer. But he's now here. He has developed pretty good. He moves really nicely. I think he has a very sweet character, but Tristan, you might have something to say about that. But yeah, over the past few days, he's not that afraid anymore, but he's still like missing like the basics of like putting on the halter, picking up the feet and stuff like that. So yeah, let's have a look.
We'll get started. As you can see already, like we said in the beginning, we're going to have different foals at different levels. But the idea is always to have that in mind of what's important to the foal and that thing about being comfortable. And the situation that you're going to be working in is also going to be different. You know, now we have here a lovely big box, a double box with a lot of space. You know, a round pen is also good. Working in the field is also good. I like to have a little bit of a space where the foal can move, and that you can move away from the foal, that you can really be able to give the rest and take away your presence in the moments where he's, of course, doing the right things. So if we're entering into a space like this, I just try to feel in the beginning how the foal is entering into that space. So if you are walking in and you start to not really do anything and the foal is already coming to you, that's your beginning point. If the foal is not coming to you, I'm just looking to create a little bit of a tension, so this much, and when he starts to come towards me, in the beginning I go away. So I'm not looking to make contact, to create contact. I'm only looking to get him to want to enter into the space of conversation. And if I get a foal that's a little bit more pushing into that space, then I may create a little energy that he's not running into that space, but he's inviting himself calmly into that space. Then I look for a contact point. Most of the time I want the foals first to make contact with me, so not that I'm reaching out to them. This is the same for you TRTers that are starting with your tools. I'm looking for the foal to make contact with me, so he knows it's comfortable to push on to me. And then I start to try to keep contact. If the foal is sensitive around the head, I try to go to the thicker parts of the body. I pay attention to if they start to push into me, I might rub a little bit less. And I'm just trying to be in this conversation where we have an interaction, we build a dialogue. If I find a little itchy point, I try to stay on that itchy point until we first get a feeling or a sense that he's thinking, oh, okay, I understand how this experience is going to be. He's not in a hurry to put something on me, to make me do something, so we can have an interaction. I then start to go through the body, feel how they are, and then I'm also focusing on the attention, how long he can keep the attention, how long he wants to stay in the interaction. So if I feel like I've gone a little distance, I then go away from them, so step out of that space of conversation, so stop talking for a little bit. I have to be aware also when talking to you guys that he is not feeling that that's my energy directed at him. Then I just feel through the body again, so now I've been able to do the neck, the back, a little bit the rump. I stay on the thickest parts of the body first. When I go out of that space of conversation, I stop saying something to him. I see if he wants to then continue the conversation. He might start to rub on me a little bit. If he starts to do that, I start to rub him back. We feel a little bit the other side. When I change sides, I also want to feel that he comes to me. So if I'm going here and he's coming to me, then I can let him make the contact and then I continue with the contact. So remembering not to go to the other side and go straight to him, but remembering that you're trying to invite him into the space of conversation and that you want there to be a dialogue, that you're doing something, he's doing something. Here I find a little bit of an itchy spot. I also feel it in his skin, so I stay here with a little bit of rubbing. Maybe he wants to put me somewhere else. I'm also aware of my body language, my body energy. and I just feel where I can go with the hands, and again I start to go away again and see what he wants to do. Remembering that they're young, so they're not going to be able to have a long intellectual conversation for an hour. You know, maybe he's going to want to have a break, eat some hay, go to the drinker. So now when we start to be able to rub a little bit, I go to the places where I want to put the halter. I like that they keep a little bit of this focus on me with the two eyes. And I rub a little bit up the nose towards the eyes. That he kind of uses my hands then as a rubbing post. Then I go underneath the eyes, up towards the ears. And here I always stay a little bit in this position that I can keep the focus. And when I get now up behind the ears, I'm then going to go away again. And I'm always going away in a way that I'm drawing my body a little bit away from them. And rubbing in this position in front is also inviting. You're inviting this contact for him to come to you. And if he wants to move away, he can step away. If I need to step a little bit away, if I feel he's starting to think about getting nervous of me touching, I can go away from him. So I'm dominating then the space of conversation, and he wants to go away from it. So then I've been able to go over behind the ears, then I can start to go over the ears. So remember, telling them what to think before you ask the question. So before I stand beside him and take my hand here over the ears, which is where I'm going to want to go when I put the halter on, I've already done that from here. In a place, in a space where if he feels he wants to go away, it's too much, I can draw away. He's already getting quite confident now that he's almost wanting to chew on me. So to change that a little bit, I then will move away without the draw. So I'm leaving then the space of conversation a little bit. Let him have a little bit, reward a break, see if he wants to eat hay. Here he turns and wants to continue again, but then I just make my body language a little bit more up. So then I'm saying to him, when we're drawing a lot and getting him confident in the conversation, so I go away again. See what he wants to do. Does he want to have a break, lick his food bin, eat some hay? Check out the halter, can you just put there? So I'm all the time stepping out of the conversation and then seeing how he rejoins the space of conversation. And this is where you can start to teach him about how to enter that space. So now he starts, because we're drawing and he's gotten to a point where he's like, oh, I've got a lot to say in this conversation. You're pretty easy to talk to. So from a foal that Connie said in the beginning was really scared and didn't like to be touched, just because of our body language, we can start to change that shape a little bit. So I move away again when he enters into the space of conversation. So then you're shaping the character. You know, if you get a foal that, stretching, if you get a foal that is running at you, you know, the worst thing you can do then is step away. If you've got a foal that's running away from you, the worst thing you can do is run towards them. So you're shaping that character in the beginning. Is he a sweet foal? He's a sweet foal because of the actions that he takes. If he's a foal that's running at you or biting you or jumping on his mum and thinking he's going to do the same to you, then we start to think, oh, he's a bit, you know, dominant. And then then you tell him off and then he becomes aggressive. Then he thinks you like the other foal. So it's shaping those just because of the way of the conversation. So then we start to think about, we're in this position, it's not a great camera angle, but I'm going to work again, go back from where I started, over the ears, under the chin. Now you're going to see I push underneath the chin a little bit. So I push a little bit up. So I'm continuing with the rubbing. I push a little bit up. When he comes down like this, I go a little bit away from him again. So what I want is when I start to take my hand up under the chin and up under the side of the face, he does this with his nose. And when he does this in the beginning, I go away from him again. He's entering, so he's a chatty fella. So we start again from the front, work the way to the side, keep contact, hand underneath. Start to lift a little bit up, so I'm rubbing but I'm lifting up. His nose comes down. I go a little away from him again. Boy. So he's continuing to think, come on, keep scratching me. I understand this bit. So if they walk back, I follow a little bit. I can also change to this position. Get the focus again. Under again. A little bit pressure up underneath. When he starts to come towards me, now I can start to think about bringing the halter up. And then I rub again. Same position. Now I have the halter with me. So he's feeling the halter. So telling him what to think before we ask the question. I go away there because it's nice. Hand under. He drops the nose a little bit against my hand. Yeah. He goes into the halter now. I follow him. He's got it on the nose. I guide him with my outside hand, lift up. Oh, he takes the breath, he leans towards me, I take it away. So everything I've done before putting the halter on is a step that's going to lead me into being able to leave the conversation in a nice way. Because of the rubbing under the chin and they get this dropping and bending towards you, they're leaning into something. So it's not that you're putting it on and they're leaning away. They're learning to lean towards something. So this is where we say that they're putting the halter on themselves. They're not going with their feet and tying the knot, of course, but you putting it on them, trying to get it on them, or them leaning into it is the two different things that we want to. And you see already that he leant into it, he walked a little bit, he took a breath, he turned towards me again, he leant down. That gave me the opportunity to take it away. And then when we leave that conversation, it's again assessing. So don't think now, okay, let's do that again, see if we can do it up. Start to feel, okay, what's important for him at the moment? What was important for him is the break. He's not coming back to the conversation. Maybe he needs to think about it, process it a little bit, eat some hay, maybe take a drink, have a conversation with somebody else because he's getting sick of talking to me. So these bits are important. Don't think, okay, I'm going to train my foal for 25 minutes and I'm going to keep trying to do something until the 25 minutes is up. You have to really read that situation. And then if you're sensitive to that and you only go into that space and you lure them into that space of conversation, they talk a little bit, you make a little progress and you go away again, then each time you come in, the foal has that idea of, oh, we're going to have this chat again. And where's this chat going to take us? So we let him have a little break. Con, do you want to see if you got some little Q&As in between?
Yeah, I have a question from Simone. And she says, what would you do with a young foal who's still with the mare that doesn't seem interested in starting a conversation?
So what I try to do in the beginning is get them to focus on me. So I'm getting them to want to look at the space. So before coming into the space of conversation, they have to look at it. They have to be aware of it. I never think that, okay, I want the foal. He says, hey, I'm ready for another bit. Good boy. So it's important that we don't think, how do we get the foal, to want to come to us? How do we first get them aware that there is a space of conversation? When we're walking into that space and they're with the mother and they're used to the energy between them and the mother, and we come into that space, we create another energy. And sometimes just the simple fact that we're there, that energy is enough to say, oh, I want to stay with this energy. I don't want that energy entering this space. So first get them to just be aware of your energy within the space, looking at that space of conversation. If they can look at you a little bit through movement, through being shy in the corner, through being something, and as soon as you get that one eye, that one look, then change and go somewhere. And always feel like you're drawing.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be that he comes to you straight away, but even just noticing you.
Yeah, you have to be aware of your starting point, and then the first bit is that he is aware there is a space of conversation. There is a possibility to approach, and that comes first from looking. Yeah. So when the foal is having the looking, and you start to draw away, you just play with that conversation. That first conversation might just be that he wants to look at you. Then you might go away. You come back the next day or in an hour or 2 hours, you see he's had his break. That's the time period of his break. He's now ready to do some more. So, you know, that's your starting point, and then you're going from there. Yeah. You know, and then if you have, you can get some moments where they might not seek the contact. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm drawing a lot now because I'm explaining about drawing. He's not exactly needing that drawing at the moment.
And I think for everybody watching, normally we have like a Q&A at a certain point in time. If you have a question already, just ask the question, because we might need to take a few breaks in between, and then we can answer some questions.
So now you see a different thought. Now he's not running into it. And then I just start to rub a little bit here. So doing the things we were doing before. He stands still, it's on his nose. I go one more time away. So a little brush under the chin with my hand. He puts the nose down, I take the halter off. That's avoiding this taking the halter off and the head going backwards and away. You want to continue? See, the foals are also not used to live events. So again, rubbing. If he starts to go more backwards, I just go back to the other step. I would go in front of him again. So now we're not getting any movement at all. I start to take the halter over. And then we're doing it up. Letting him carry it, feel it a little bit. So before we start to move and think about steering, I'm letting them wear it a little bit. Sometimes if I have them with the mother, I let them wear it and then I walk with the mother and I let them carry the halter a little bit. I go with him in the start. So no pressure on the halter. I let him wear it a little bit and then I concentrate on my rubbing again. So we've changed something. He has the halter on. And okay, he's already had a halter on before, but I'm always focusing on just working in the moment. He's also not totally comfortable, confident about it, like, oh, I've had a halter on before. So I want to give him this good feeling again. And I'm going to go back to our head, this, eyes, up the head, get him drawing, get him confident again. When he starts to want to just push in me a little bit, maybe even chew on me a bit. Oh, good boy. Then we're going to take it off again. So you have to also think that getting the halter on is not the prize, the goal. It's a training. So we want to make sure that we treat it as a training. Okay, I want to be able to come in every day and you come up to me and you want to have this halter on. And we have to explain all the parts of that. So I continue because he's come back into the conversation again, rubbing with the halter. If he starts to regress too much, then I will go back to the front again. He wants to go away here. I don't chase him. I wait till he comes back to the conversation. So we're just going to talk again about the halter, rubbing the halter on the side of the face, underneath the chin, rubbing underneath the chin. I go away again, see what he wants to do. Yeah, good boy. So this tells you that he's not like, halters, you know, it's nothing. I can wear a halter. So he wants to dominate the conversation a little bit again. Sometimes the chewing can be trying to build up their confidence. I go with him again. I just go a little bit against the hip. I go with him. Oh, there he takes a little breath. I rub again. Let him feel the halter. I rub the halter, doing all the nice things where we began our conversation, rehashing the old dialogue with the halter on. He feels it, the rubbing. Ah, boy. And then we've had our little training session, and then I take it off again. Again, being aware that when we take it off, that it's drawing away. And so then you explain to him the end game. The training session will of course be longer as he gets older and he's learnt more things and we're doing more things. But we've already explained to him what it is to be a horse. We come in, we put the halter on, we have a conversation, we do some things, and the halter goes off again. And then thinking that, you know, how long have we been going now? But we've already had quite some training sessions. And if you spend 3-4 days of only this, the foals get even the most nervous will in 2-3 days really want to come to you and be part of this conversation. And just let them continue to want to be part of it. So we're going to go now away from the halter and introduce some body movement. So now that we can touch him all over, I again rub the nose and I look for the bending and I guide the nose a little bit. Oh. And as I'm guiding the nose, I'm going to push the hip and just get him to take one step like this, and then I go away again. So again, we're doing something that he already knows. He's creating the bending, so he's creating already a direction in the body. We then just teach him the first thing about moving away from pressure. I like to be able to do this in the beginning if I can without the halter, so we've already explained to them, teach them what to think before we ask the question. So when we go with the halter on, he's already understanding where I'm going to touch him and what we possibly could be going to ask of him. So again, I look for his attention. I move a bit in the box. He's like, oh, there you are. Good boy. Rubbing again. Hand up the side. Now I got a little bend. Turn the hind leg. Good, and go away again. So pretty much that in the end, making those links, these steps, that in the end if you open your hand and you go a little bit towards the hip, the foal is turning automatically. And what he's learning here is an order of movement in his body. If you notice and watch a lot of foals, they often move in a way and in an order that they can keep out of the way. So it's not optimal in the beginning. It's also determined by the ground they are standing on. Their natural conformation, how they're born, of course. Some are really high, some are really long, short in the neck, long in the neck, all these sorts of things. But what we want to teach them here is an ultimate way of turning that really is going to fit their body and gives them a connection to themselves. He's learning now this connection between the diagonal pairs. Don't be surprised when you're starting to teach the foals that they get addicted to it. They may even get a little excited. That they start to feel, hey, hang on a minute, just like they would be if they were playing with a friend. So I stay, a little support on the cheek, and a little support on the hip. Now the hind leg goes under nicely, 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 and away again. Hey. And now we're moving and starting to dance a little bit. Then I can have my energy a little bit more in a flow. Again, stop, take notice. What I really like to see is when you get a really nice connection diagonal pairs, how the foal turns the next time. Ooh. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm just going to make this turn. Oi, that feels a bit better. So those of you that know TRT will of course know that this is what the groundwork patterns that we're going to be teaching the older horses. Good order of movement. A little bit on the hip. And then I just rock him. Follow. Oh, and away again. Boy. And the away bit, the retreating for me is, you know, when you watch two foals as well, they have a little interaction and then one just goes woo and trots off somewhere. And I find when working with these little guys, that can really get them to follow you, to want to be included in this, in the movement a little. So you see now already the head comes really nicely. Hardly anything there. Little rub, hand on the hip. Little rock, you're just feeling almost the pressure, weight of your hand, nothing more. Don't sort of push them over, just guide them into the step. This was really nice. Retreat again. Oh, boy. And then at this stage, because I'm retreating, don't be in a hurry for the next step. You know, because you're retreating, maybe he's coming towards you because of the natural flow of his body. Follow. Oh, very good. And hind leg turn and go away from him again. And then we just give him a little break. So when you're doing those exercises, making sure that this flow and you drawing away doesn't also give you an artificial sort of sense that he wants to continue, you know, and then you do and you do and you do. So making some compulsory breaks at the same time. I'm then normally doing only the hind legs when they're free, and then I go to the halter again, and I then just introduce that step with the halter on. So they're getting the same feeling. They're getting your hand, they're getting you moving the hind leg, and in the end the rein is going to do the same thing. And when I'm able to get the bend and the following and the moving of the hind leg, then I can start to guide the front leg. And when I'm guiding the front leg, I'm going to be teaching them. In the beginning, a foal is going to want to be forward when he moves. When he's thinking about moving confidently, he's moving forward. So I want him to learn to think about moving confidently, but stepping through his body backwards. But I don't want to do that in the beginning free, because then we're sending him away. Maybe if you have a foal that's really over the top of you, you're able to do that exercise and they're still on you, so it's not a big deal. But Rolex here has started out as a bit of a nervous character. As Connie explained, she couldn't touch him, he was really afraid of her. So we have to also feel that when we work with him. So I'm thinking now it's not a foal in the beginning that I would move the front legs on him free. Mm-hmm. We will do that in a moment again with the halter.
Do you want to do a question?
Yeah, let's let him have a little break and we can do a Q&A question.
Yes, so what age would you start with a halter? When the foal is just a couple of days old, or when they are a little older?
Normally when they're a couple of days old, it will take you a little bit longer to get these steps with the turning. But basically age for me is not criteria, it's how they are in the body. If the foal is turning really well in these shapes and able to bend and follow and move in a way that's connected and balanced, then I can also start with the halter and make those connections. If I start 2 days old and I feel I get maybe 3 sessions and they're leading on the halter, I may not do something for 3-4 days a week, something like that. But also I really like it myself personally if I can start a couple of days old and the first day I go, if it's only 10 meters walking distance, that the foal goes with me
Yeah. Ah, yeah.
to the field the first time.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're in an open situation, you let them go there in the field, but
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to do that in the beginning, and then maybe you know, a couple of weeks before I start lifting legs and things like that, that they are really balanced, that they're really sure on the feet.
And there was also a question from someone who said, if putting on a halter takes a few days, do you just leave them in the stable, or do you just let them walk with the mother?
Yeah, yeah, totally dependent. If you know, if it's a safe short distance to go with the mother and the foal follows, but I also don't really like the idea of the foal following and someone behind, and the foal's already kind of learning, like, oh, you know, they're herding me.
Yeah.
So I mean, if it takes, you know, 4 sessions, you've done 4 sessions on one day, by the second day, there's very few foals that will not say, here, let me, you know, and maybe you have to do a few minutes and then go out. And being able to put the halter on is dependent on how good your conversation is before it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go in and you get that really nervous foal on, and remember, 2 days old, they don't know really yet, you know, their instincts are there, but they're not sort of like switched on to, hey, he's coming in.
Yeah.
You know, you might get one that's a bit sensitive and reads energy, and the mother is also like that, the father's a bit like that, and already the foal has felt internally from being in the mother, you know, the sensitivity of the mare hears a noise and she goes like this, and inside the foal is alert to those things, so they hit the ground a little bit like that, but they're hitting the ground and then they can breathe and they can see and they can hear outside externally. You can, in 2 days, you can shape that. Okay, if you've got a foal like Rolex has experienced some things and they're already nervous, you know, and you have to undo and redo, you know, it may take a couple of days. And I
So
don't.
basically, when they already have like a previous experience, because there was also a question like that, you still do the same thing, but it just might take a bit longer.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And not always. You may get some foals that are fearful and they are really searching for that important thing, to be comfortable. And if they can find a way to get that, which is knowledge about connection, about how you think about it, how you feel, about the situation, the physical action you take determines how you feel. And if you change the body language from this to this, they're like, oh, hang on a minute. You know, instantly they look for that comfort. So you can, sometimes a nervous foal can switch in a few moments.
I guess it also, it's a difference when a horse is like 3, 5, 8 years old. They have like 8 years of experience.
Yeah.
And the foal's, of course, shorter period of time.
Exactly.
So, I also have another question, but I wanted to let everybody know that here we have a foal halter, and you can win this foal halter. And what you have to do, you have to share on Instagram that you're attending the live show, tag us, TRT.method, and we'll choose a winner tomorrow, and we'll email, and we'll share it in the email tomorrow morning. There were also some questions about if we're going to have it in the shop. We don't have it yet in the shop.
No, that's right.
I guess we should add it.
Yeah, there are only actually 2 sizes in the TRT halters, and it's a mid-range that goes from until ponies, and then the smaller foal from the foal's size to the pony size is also fitting that range.
Yeah, right now in the shop we only have like for the
big horses.
Big horses. But we'll add it, but it will take a few weeks. Okay.
So he's asking for some a little session again. I will try to give one more session on this part. Maybe if he's relaxed in the turning, we can start a little bit on the legs of how I go about it and how this training that we're doing now leads into that.
And if you want to do rents in between, we can also do that, huh?
Yeah, that's also a good idea. We just see where it goes. The conversation is totally dependent on this young man. So again, I'm going with him in the start, And before I start to ask something, I'm making our first contact. Halter rub with head rub over the ears. If he wants to run away here, he can go a step backwards. If he's really pushing into the halter like this, I can retreat away from him. Oh. So we're not starting sort of the exercise with him going against the halter and me asking him to follow it. And then I start with the rubbing. We have our bend. I have a little bit here, now the halter. And now I have a little pressure on the halter. And now I release again. Go with him. So I'm now joining my hand pressure with the halter pressure. Rubbing, halter, relax, follow. So not controlling them, letting him feel like he's in control of himself. Hand rubbing, halter, hip. So this is my first turn on the rein. Whoa, really nice. Go away. Maybe I make him feel good about it by going back to my rubbing. But just thinking all the time, you're creating steps to be able to fall back on them. You want to make relevance that when they do something good, you go back to the thing that you've talked about in the conversation that made them feel good before. Again, halter. If I get resistance here, my right hand comes up. Hip. Hind leg. Hind leg. Very good. And release again. Really nice. See how he is, what he thinks about it. Does he start swishing the tail? Getting a little shitty? That's also okay. It's part of the learning. Boy. And I'm going to sneak up on this side. Rub a little here on the neck. Rub a little. Bending on the halter. He's already taking the step. I go away from him. Follow. Oh. Bending on the halter. Hand on the hip. Hind leg. Hind leg. Hind leg. Very good. I just want to guide, finish on a nice note. Very good. Take the energy down a little again. So inviting him into this space of conversation. Have a little quiet moment. So a reflective acknowledgement that we just did something, it was high energy, but we communicated in a way we both understood what was going on. I understood that he understood what I was saying. And then we're going to move the front leg. So now I'm going to start to rub here, a little halter, and then I'm going to ask him to go to the side with the front leg. Open the halter, rub, and same as the hip, rocking a little, front leg goes to the side. Follow a little, same on this side, lead, rub, got the bending, rock a little, front leg. Really good. Same again, lead, rub, behind, across, front legs. Oh. So what's happening here is we're getting also this conversation with the feet. So the movement of the feet, the following of something, the yielding from something, front legs across. Oh, really good. And of course then the natural progression from there is if you get a turn that's a little bit away, you move the front legs, he starts to move a little bit away, walk away in this direction, you can then pick up and start to move your hip to redirect him. So you can start to use your tools that they become useful. We're now going to continue the rubbing. When I go to so now we're joining the things together, following, yielding, connection, conversation with the feet. I then bring the nose in the bending, make my way down the feet. So what I don't want is when I touch the foal's legs for the first time, that the head goes away. One eye away, two eyes away, he's thinking he wants to get away. Rubbing, bending, down the leg, let him make contact with your head. All the things that the farriers don't like, but they don't realize that that's where the horses get most confident. So rubbing the front, rubbing the back. And he enters into the space of conversation when you go to a sensitive part. So just remember, we've been on thick parts of the body a lot so far. Now we go to the thinner parts of the body which are more sensitive. We don't want to take over the conversation, so remember, letting them in the conversation means that they're a part of it. They're not on the outer. Oh, just having this when you go to a sensitive area makes all the difference in the mind. You're not going to it, but you enter into the space and he's coming to. Same with the hind leg. I have good bending here, back, from the hock, front. He's got contact with me. Here he starts to take the weight off, so I just bend and I go away again. Boy. I do a little bit on the other side. So just feeling how it is on the feet, he starts to take the weight, I see an opportunity, I just let him follow the leg. And this first day is enough. I don't have to have the legs and hold the legs, even though on him we could probably do that now. You see automatically what happens now? He's already creating the bending himself. I'm going to make one turn with the hip here because I don't want to be against the wall. So when I go into this space, this is what we were talking about in the beginning of shaping the character. So we've taught him, when we go to the legs, he's now saying, oh yeah, what are we doing here? I'm touching your leg. See that? Feel that? Nice, huh? Oh yeah, I can see you doing that. Doesn't seem that scary. Can I eat you while we do this? So what we've shaped on one side goes immediately to the other side, even though in the beginning he was more sensitive on the right. Again, bending down the leg, up to the hock, in front of the leg. He does the same again. So I'm going to lift the hock a little and let it go again. You can see now the body language is starting to get a little like the in here is getting full. So I just take it again down a notch.
If you want me to get hands, you have to let me know. And
Yeah.
shall I do it?
Yeah, not yet. We're going to let him have a little. See if we can now he's almost in La La Land, he needs sleeping. So we're going to go with here, the front leg. And again, just take the hock forward and down again. Fetlock forward and down again. Doesn't matter that he's not perfectly balanced, you see he moves that up himself. Fetlock forward and down again. And when the fetlock can come forward, you feel when I push the fetlock he puts weight on the right. So he's understanding. Then I can bend it. Then I can put it down again. So always try to make an order of movement in them first finding out that you can touch, where you're going to touch, that they're part of that conversation, not that you're going down there and he's like, oh, where's he going now? Where is he? If he's part of that with you, going there with you, it's a lot more relaxing, of course, for them. And then feeling the first joint that has to bend, the fetlock, and that you feel that he starts to put the weight on the other one. When he puts the weight on the other one, then you can retreat a little bit until that starts to come up. When that comes up a few times like this, he's putting the weight sufficiently that the leg comes up, then you know you can bend it. And when you can bend it here, you can start to be able to take it there. So we're going to let him switch off now. I'm going to come here because I also want to, again, finish on a good note. Oh. Rub, halter off. Boy. And then we've had already a nice first little session. So, Con, any Q&As?
Well, I was thinking maybe you can answer a question what you do when a foal bites, and then I can go get Rens in the meantime. Then I'll go to the other camera, explain a bit the story from Rens, because we can't show the video anymore.
So tell me, what's your idea with Rens? Maybe you can, I will...
Oh gosh,
First
no, I knew it. I knew something was gonna come. I knew it. You just thought of this, right?
No, but we're about to handle another foal and you look like you're going to lead him into the arena. Is that something you normally do? Or?
Yes, I can do that with him.
Okay.
Yeah?
It's good.
Okay.
But then, I'm just checking.
Okay, no, because I also lead him to the field and...
Okay,
and also,
okay.
Yeah, no, that's
Oh,
pretty
good.
good.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah? Can I go?
Yeah. And I'm answering a question of what they do when they bite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And shall I check quickly for more questions or?
Yeah, good idea. So the biting, okay, with a foal like Rolex, from the beginning, when I walked in, he was standing and facing the wall, and he was looking kind of anywhere but where we were coming in. We were behind him. And so you get a sense from the beginning that he's a foal that needs a little bit of draw. He was, even though as we progressed, he's really seems like he's not afraid of anything, and he really is confident and comfortable. You have to feel from the foal how it is, and then you have to decide how you're going to teach them to enter that space of conversation. If you have a foal that you go to the door and he's already at the door, he's looking past you, or you go into the field and he walks up to you so much that you feel like you have to take a step back, then you should have already made some body language when he is starting to enter into the space of conversation. You want to teach him what kind of energy is in that space of conversation. So the moment that we have here now is he was maybe thinking of coming and having a little nibble again, but you, as he's approaching that space, you let him know. A little click, a little rub, a little movement, a little progression of self, that you project yourself energy into that space, so that the foal is then approaching and then thinking, hang on a minute, okay, read this energy in this space, and then how they approach is then of course different. And maybe you have to do that a few times if you feel you've got a foal that's really confident pushing in, because if the foal is pushing in, then the body language is going to say, when I'm there, I want to really take over this conversation. I want to be saying everything and dictating what's happening. So to change that, it's in the preparation of that. How he enters into the space of conversation is going to determine what he says in that space of conversation. And then you're also going to be able to repeat that. So if he approaches in the field or in this situation, and you see him walking up and you're thinking, I feel like I want to lean back, then project some more energy into the space. And then you can repeat that. So when he starts to maybe come into you and you feel you're leaning away, then maybe you can repeat that. And he starts to think again. Just like he did when he was approaching that space, he thought, oh, hang on, I reassess this. You want that same thing to go through his mind a little bit. And it's only about the body language in the space. If he's pushing up, leaning on, that energy goes here. And when you get this, oh, that of course changes. You quite often see that with people feeling that it's really nice, that they've spent a lot of time with the foal and not realizing what the conversation's been about. They think, oh, he's so good, he's so confident, he's not afraid, we can pat him, we can put a halter on him, he can push us out the way, he can dominate the conversation. He comes in and he bowls up to the gate every day and he's pushing us 5 steps backwards, and he's thinking, I'm just telling them what to think and going to decide what they're going to say. We're not aware of that because we're happy that the foal we've got is confident, we can put a halter on, we can lead him and he's confident, he's walking and he's doing whatever. But in the end, you end up with a spoilt brat. That's again shaping the character, shaping a likable character. It's about teaching them as young horses, just as young adults, how to enter a space, a room, what are manners, how to be polite, how to feel yourself within yourself and how to feel yourself within a space. So that education in the beginning is going to determine the habits and things that might creep in a little bit later. So, Connie, you're in the arena with a little, the next superstar.
Am I live? Am I live, Tessa? Okay, guys, so this is Rens. And he's been a little bit longer at my stable. He's 6 months old, and he's already done the first session with Tristan in the stable, similar to what Tristan has done with Rolex. I also bought Rens at the same Foal auction. He's, by the way, a Dutch warm blood, Lord Romantic by Apache. Rolex is, by the way, Fontaine by Governor, in case you're wondering. And yeah, so I guess he's a really nice foal. But yeah, I haven't done a lot with like the leading and the groundwork. But yeah, he does know a bit more the basics. So Tristan, we'll see how that goes. I managed to get here.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't get any of your story, but I can see that it's, yeah, he's standing quite nicely.
Yeah, so of course you did like the first session a while ago in the stable, but yeah, I don't know. I have the feeling
you've carried on from that first haltering and
yeah, a little bit.
Looks good.
By the way, like with the character of Rolex, how do you think he is, and also with Rens? Like what type of?
We'll get to know Rens a little bit more now, but of course Rolex is that genuine, sweet, he's sensitive, inquisitive, but in a gentle way. Yeah. So he wants to learn, and he has a lot of sense of himself. Yeah. So that's maybe in the beginning created by him being a little bit scared in the beginning. He maybe had some situations where, there was some energy in the space where he got a little bit nervous from it. Yeah. Which a lot of people can say, it's normal. Yeah. And, you also get breeders that go in and say, hey, look at my foal, and the neck's up, and hey, he's a beauty, isn't he? And the foal's like, holy shit, the world is scary.
Yeah, I think that might have been the first experience also at the stable when they were here for the filming day. Yeah. Because a lot of noise and clappers, and they have to present themselves like moving big.
And then it's, of course, a process of coping.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and learning to cope, those two words alone should never be in the same sentence. Yeah. Because, of course, coping is a forced conditioning. You're in a situation, you react with what you know. Yeah. And learning is an opening up.
He really wants to be with you, Tristan.
Yeah,
here you go.
I just was waiting just to see how the conversation was going. So now we see, which is nice, because we see the opposite here. Yeah. So, there's so many flies in your arena. So, I don't know where those flies came from. He's quite well behaved.
Yeah.
So you see from the beginning, this entering into this space of conversation. So now when I start to attract the attention, I want him to start to think about that. So now we take a step of, oh, how do I enter? Oh, politely. This is the way you enter, where we meet, we make contact, and we do it in a gentle fashion. So I just match the energy in the conversation that he says, oh, you're speaking? I'll just wait here a little. So when we invite him into that conversation, now we have his attention again. This is what I want from him. Because what I felt in the beginning was hey, what are we doing here? It's like, shh, it's learning time. This is the conversation we're going to be having. So shaping that likable character. It's nice that he's confident and wants to be with you, he's not afraid of something, but it's also not nice if he's 3 years down the track and he's doing that. Yeah. So those things are important. So this focus bit, that he's learning, where is he? Not, here I am. So that where is he bit first. Oh, there he is. I see you. I see you. You're in that space. Shall we step into this space of conversation? Reach in. Good boy. This is how we meet. This is how we shake hands in a polite fashion. And then we just start to... So with Renz, I was more... with Rolex, I was more this. And with him, this is not what we need to do. We need to be able to make contact. Look, he's... They are real wild foals. These are not ones we've prepared earlier, obviously. So, the contact in the beginning. And then, of course, we're starting from a different point. So, he's understanding something about leading. So I can just test how that is, first with the contact again, and then starting just to move the hip. If he already had a little resistance on the halter, I would introduce this. He's obviously okay with touch. And I would be introducing the rub, contact, follow, rein aid, hip. And then I'm from this age already looking for the connection. You see the order and way he moves here. Right front towards me. Left front sometimes gets in the ground. And look at the legs. Look where they're going. All over. And we're looking for the step where the diagonal pairs match a little bit. There. Little drunkenness. There. And then with him, I'm not going to be doing retreating away. I'm going to be doing, did you feel that? He's like, yeah. Thinking about the focus part. We go into the other side. Again, little movements there for the attention, the focus. Go into the space. Good boy. Little bending. He's following the halter nice, so I don't need to make this. Hip. And this is really where you just feel how it is, because you see the step that he takes. So, feeling, the connection in his body, the connection between your hand and the legs. There's a step with the two together. Then we can start to enter the conversation from different angles. Front legs. You see the step forward here. So I just guide him by being in the space, a little bit more behind across this step. I go away. this space. So not when I stop, he walks into that space and I'm walking backwards. The conversation has to be in that we also see each other in the beginning. And when we start to walk, he's also going to walk there, just like we teach the older horses in the TRT method, because of course we all learn to lead from here in the beginning. So focus again, front leg, open the rein, rock a little bit on the neck. Here he goes a little forward, so I quit and I make energy in the space behind across this step. Energy in the space. There's a forward step, but I retreat and then behind across. So sometimes you might be thinking, why is he retreating when he's going forward? But because that's not what you want, but it's because then when he goes forward, I'm going to enter into a collision. There's going to be resistance, conflict in the conversation. He didn't understand it, so I go back and I go, okay, I re-explain the question.
Is it also because he's a stallion that you are more aware of that?
No, it's with all foals, because if he runs into the resistance, then I'm teaching him to go against something. And I want him to continue to think about what we're looking for. You see the little bit the drunkenness here. Here you have to be careful. And a lot of people say, but they're foals, they're born knowing how to walk. And yes, of course, they can go to get the grass. They can walk to follow mum. Oh. But to move in a coordinated fashion where they're really connected, that part they have to learn. But if they learn this from the beginning, we have a different yearling, we have a different 2-year-old, we have a different 3-year-old. Yeah.
Lifting front legs.
So then we see a little bit the patience bit. I also let them be in this space sometimes. Feel a little bit what frustration is. Don't control the behavior. Observe it and redirect it. Create something interesting, create a little focus, and then let them feel the difference. So, hind legs again. Good. Good. This step. And these little steps, for 2 or 3 sessions, you can see already now the difference between the first steps. Connection. He has to feel this. This. And not just turning them, thinking, not just spinning them round, feeling a connection. Stay here when he's losing the forward. There's a step. And relax again. And then also just paying attention to where they are in their attention span, level of understanding. Is it challenging? Is there some frustration that comes into it? Oh. And it's not that you have to think, okay, they get lack a little patience, he's being out in the arena, it's probably dinner time. He thought he was coming out maybe just for a walk around. Oh, now we're doing something. He's also the character that's going to tell you how it is. He's not shy and inquisitive. He knows what he likes to feel a little bit, so he's going to say it. So if he does get a little frustrated, it doesn't mean we think, oh, he's getting frustrated, we have to stop. No, he has to also learn that bit. We don't have to go for an hour. Front legs, really good step. Front legs the other side. There. Oh. So also matching his level of energy in the conversation. You have a foal like this and you start to be like we were with Rolex, you're going to have a real problem. We just let him feel again. Here. There. Oh. And now I change it up. I go into a little rubbing. So also to take maybe sometimes a little of the frustration out, try to find a spot that it becomes also a little bit rewarding. So those that have a bit of a character and looking to see what is in this for me, we have to sometimes show them that. Then I can also come a little bit down. That he starts to understand it's learning, and there might be some difficult things, there might be some things we ask that goes against what you might feel you want to do, but it'll also be nice things. So the turning of the hind leg is getting our forward step with the connection, and that's leading us into this. Going here. If I get a stop on the foals, I'm just going back to this step. Feeling the connection in the feet. If you get one that's pulling against the rope, if you get 2-3 steps, invite them into the head rub, drawing them forwards. Hind leg again. And go out again. And you can start to go somewhere. And I only just try to feel the weight in the rope. And a foal like this, I tend to already try to build some challenges. If we have maybe some tools to give him something to think about. So this is the importance of having them in your right hand. That if he goes to run forwards quickly, you can turn here and be able to get the redirection of the hind leg again. Speedy. So when they start to walk like this, then I already begin to let them walk between something, around something, over something. So then I might put something here. Yeah, that's also good. And I start to walk maybe past something, both ways. Very good. So thinking of a challenging mind, little impatience, little frustration. Don't think to control them, think to redirect them. Redirect the mind into something else. Some of them need more interaction. They need things to stimulate the mind.
Also get the flag.
So we can already start here on our approach. And again, we're just starting that session with wherever the foal is at. We have a little bit of an understanding now of the feet, the connection, that he knows to lead a little. We start introducing some objects. Now you see he's made more focus. Follow. Let's walk around something. Good. Always, to get them going again, think about opening up the front legs or getting the connection of the diagonal pairs with the hind legs. So again, every step that you take is going to allow you to go back. It's going to be then a useful tool when you want to be able to go back if you have some difficulties. This is already really good. And then I take him a little bit away again. We have some quiet time. A little rub again. He's really interested. Then we can go between some objects. Oh, very good. So controlling the front legs, left front to the left. And for some it might be nice just that they want to stop and make contact and touch. And for others, like Ren's here, we need to be able to keep going. Good boy. Very good. One more time the other way. Try to have a little pause. Focus here. Quiet moment. He maybe doesn't allow for much of one, but we try to allow him to have them still. Again, going between two things on the ground. So again here I'm going to be thinking about shaping the likable character. This is nice and it's positive, but I also don't want him to be drawing over there and deciding he's going to stamp all over my umbrella. He has to know the interaction with the objects and things the same as the interaction with me. Oh, good boy. Good. Front legs. So getting him to teach to lead between something, around something, by leading the feet. Letting him follow his feet. Not pulling them. Boy. Oh. So then when we start to be able to navigate a little bit between something, over something, around something, we will then come across, of course, all those little challenges, little bit stickiness in the feet. We start to see the coordination in the feet and in the legs. A little approach towards something. Same way as we would have done with our hands. It's also possible, if necessary, to be able to do that also with the hands. And then we make contact, work down the body. We try to have a little scratching session again. Feeling the feet. Just feeling over the body, letting him feel the plastic. And then a little moving. Same on the other side. And again, just feeling how each foal is. Some foals you're not going to be able to go directly to the legs, but you're just feeling on that foal what they're able to manage, and the confidence level and how they're entering into that space of conversation. Boy. And of course all the steps you've taken before is leading you into being confident in these steps. We can have another little tool. So again, just the same as Rolex, moving away and seeing where the curiosity goes. I just take the flag on the stick, Connie, then we can... Actually, the flag in the plastic, sorry. So, retreating and seeing where the attention is. Does he want to continue? Is he starting to feel like, oh, I've learned a lot now, we've done quite some things. You notice now how the contact is. Our first contact was starting to bite Connie and thinking about wrestling me. And now, and so the impatient bit is sometimes then the mind being active. He is thinking, we came in here for a walk and now we've got to do this and now, and thinking. And then the frustration gets going. So if he's active in the mind, give him something to think about. So we're going to then, same as the bag, we're going to go towards our hand rubbing. We have our good TRT flag here. So I'm lowering my energy now because he's also lowered his energy a little bit. So because of the connection in the feet and the turn we taught him, if he gets a little bit that he wants to be away here, I show him already the self-management. This is the control bit, where he learns to connect in the feet. He's not getting his head up, running away. He turns through his body. He gets to a focus position again, and then we can start again. If he starts to go, hind leg, focus, rub again. So this is now, you can hear probably on the mic, this makes a bit more of a noise. So again the turning. And each tool will be different. Each time you expose them to something different, you're going to have now another element. We had touch with the stick. And now we have a little bit touch, but also sound. So now we get a little rustling. So with the tool now, I'm just going to redirect the hind leg. So I connect what I've shown him with my hand, and I do the same then with the flag. If he's not moving, I don't ask him to move. If he starts to move, I'm going to move him from the flag. This was nice. Again, I retreat, see where he's at. And then again, think about your body language, your energy, giving him a nice experience, following that energy. If he's busy, you need to maybe match him with that busyness, but when he starts to come down, that you're also coming down. This is very good. I go away again. Use the tool. Make the connective step. So every time he's also walking away, it gives you another opportunity just to practice those little things. So now we can work towards teaching him to have his first blanket on. Again, if he moves back into this shape. Very nice step. I also let him take note of that. So he feels that. There's a little chew and a lick. Good boy. Because he's started out a little bit busy, sometimes in the first groundwork patterns, he's maybe not all the time focusing on what that felt like. But there'll always be other opportunities, so you have to be aware of those opportunities, and that you can also start to reinforce something you might have taught him earlier. So introduction, to be able to put a blanket on him later, not waiting till they're 3. He's already learning it now. This is something lighter, of course, feels nice. And it doesn't have to be big and impressive, a big blue tarp and cover his whole head and do something super impressive. Just have an interaction. Teach them really something that is going to be valuable to them. So now we have already a different character than the beginning. So he's went through the frustration stage. So I was just about to say the character's changed, and we want to start to think about finishing on a good note. This is a really different feeling I have from him now. So we start to get a little fella that's really polite. The first connections of the feet, finding balance, leading them and then being balanced and following a rope is two very different things. And introducing just those first steps of connection, within the next day, he will already move different, feel different. And then if you practice it a few days in a row, you already have a totally different. You're not having to hold them and lead them by the chin to the field in case they fall over. You leave them. They walk behind, they are balanced. If you turn, they know shape, they know connection between the feet. And then you can really give them the information they need for the perfect start. This is enough for him, Connie. He's made a really nice session and he's really feeling quiet and relaxed.
Different.
Now I just want to see when I go to you and I give you the rope, and then I just want to see how he looks at you, because I have a feeling already, as we've seen in a lot of other TRT events, that we look at the dynamic. there's already a little mum thing going on.
Yeah, with him?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I'm happier to hear this mom than Dictate.
But see what's happening here already.
Yeah. So he's like now moving like more into my space.
Yeah, but what did it make you feel?
Come to me, Mom.
Yeah, come to me, but what did you do?
I moved back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was, that's what I say, when I give you the rope,
Yeah.
what's happening in that conversation?
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's now already beginning
Yeah.
to, and then you took the first step back, that's like inviting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
I need your hat.
Yeah,
Listen, I have
but
some
also-
flies here as well.
Yeah, but also you don't have to make him even walk backwards. Just turn and walk away. And then reintroduce that. So turn, walk away. We don't want to do too much with him now, but I just want you to have the feeling of it. Now turn and stop and look. And then, no. Don't think, he's not an old horse. He doesn't know reinback.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So you have to think in the beginning just that you can just walk again. Turn and look at the space and own a bit. So, and stop and look at him. Yeah. And just that.
Oh yeah.
That you're like, I'm here in the space.
Yeah.
Like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that he's like, oh. He thinks differently. He reassesses what's happening there.
Yeah. And he doesn't know that's too much.
He doesn't know backing up yet.
Yeah.
So you have to speak in the beginning with a dialogue. So you haven't changed much, but you're now not thinking of walking backwards.
Yeah,
That's
true.
already one.
Yeah.
And two, you've already made a different energy in the space. And then he's more relaxed.
Yeah.
And he's politely entering the space instead of feeling that your mummy's wants to hug me and I can get in here and rule that, you know?
But they're so sweet.
They're so sweet. When he's big, look how big he is already. When he's 3, he's not going to be sweet. He's going to be jumping on you.
Yeah, true.
Okay, good boy. It's a good start.
Yeah. Can I have the questions on my tablet over there.
Well, maybe I can read the questions.
And I can answer them.
And you can answer them.
Yeah.
Or you can put that young man away.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need to stand here.
No, it's not a good idea.
This is perfect now. This is perfect like this. Okay, guys, they're all in Dutch. I'm joking. There's a few questions here, some in English. How about foals that are confident and high energy that try rearing and bucking with you as well as on their dam, the mare? If their energy is already high, they won't respond as well to you putting your high energy. So don't think of this as overpowering. They have high energy, you have to have more high energy. Really think about this as this space of conversation. So the way they think about this space is the way they're going to enter this space. So if they're entering this space and you are here, the mare is there and the foal sees you, he's already jumping all over mum and he's used to doing that, and he sees you walk into the space and you are thinking, oh, I want to get close to him and start to catch him. This way of entering the conversation is already that he is going to run into that space. He's going to be dominating that space. So a horse that's like that, the first step is not to think about how do I catch him, how do I handle him. No, how do I teach him the manners of how to approach me? What is the approach? How is he going to enter into a place in which we can make contact, we can create a connection. That connection has to be in a polite manner. So if your foal was so wild that when you walk in he's on the hind legs coming towards you, then you need to go in with a little ammunition. You need to go in with the bag and the stick and make like a crazy person that the foal says, hang on a minute, what kind of drugs has my owner been taking? And that they think for a moment about that. And when you change the way they approach you, approach the situation, you've changed the physiology because you've then changed their thoughts. And then you can begin to progress in that conversation about how you move around and how that foal is starting to follow you. Because when they first think about how they're going to make that connection, they're no longer just doing, bucking, rearing, high energy. They are thinking, how am I entering that? When you start to move around them, they start to think, how am I going to move around this person? They're no longer just consumed by their high energy, bucking, rearing, bolting. So it starts from that connection, how they're making that connection. And of course, a horse that's more nervous, you are doing the opposite. You're drawing the horse into you. When you get a slight bit of attracting their attention to the space of conversation, you are stepping a little bit out of it, drawing them into it. The opposite for a horse that has a lot of drawings running into you.
I don't know which question you did. But I do think this one is interesting. Would you start in the same way with a youngster of 3.5 years who comes in fresh from the pastures and hasn't been handled before? Or do you do it in the same way as we show in online training with starting young horses?
It's of course dependent on how wild. You know, if you have a horse that's come in from the pasture, has never had a halter on, never seen people, again, you are reading that connection part, the awareness of self before training self. They have to be aware of themselves, how they're entering this space of conversation, what they think about the interaction with you. And I'm terrible at roping horses, so if I'm going to start that, most Australians are. We can crack a whip, but we can't throw the rope from our roof onto the ground. Well, for me anyway. And so if you are, I have to catch them. They have to learn to enter that conversation, to make contact, to, and then I am doing a little bit the similar things as I do with the foals. But of course you already have a grown-up mature horse, so he can already be more balanced and able to turn. Okay, maybe not with the connection that we want to build to create this supreme being, but you know, a foal you have to be gentle because they are young, just on the legs. You know, if you turn them quick or you move quick, too quick, they can fall. Yeah. They also have short amounts of energy, short amounts of focus. So as they get older, they have more endurance, you know, so they are able, and they need to then, just like we saw with these, the difference between these two, he's already behaving like he's older, more experienced, got to a frustration level, and he's more physically able. So if you treat that the same, you know, no, he's able to focus longer, he's physically stronger, so he needs to actually go a little bit longer to feel the sensation of the experience of the exercise, that we're actually doing something, we're learning something.
I did have the feeling with Rolex that he was better at making the shape.
Yeah.
That he was more easier in his body.
Yeah.
I knew it was good.
Yeah. And it's also probably because he is thinking about his body more. And he's become a bit lighter, more sensitive from, you know, and he's taking care of himself more. He doesn't like to be touched.
Right.
And
so he's more aware of his body.
Fancy pants is, you know, turn what? You know, so you have less awareness then.
Oh. Let's see. Maybe you want to pick. There was also a question. Oh yeah, how do you try this when you have a foal in a group? Do you just do it in the field in between the others, or do you take them separately?
I normally try to take them separately. If I was going to a stud, either here or specifically in Australia with the thoroughbreds, then I would generally have like a big pen and then a smaller round pen or something next to it. And I would then take the mother, the mare and foal, out. If the mare had been handled, I would use the mare to first be able to get the foal to thinking about following, also the connection with the mother, that same connection I can start to get onto me. If I have a mare that is not handled, if I have the time, I try to handle the mare a bit first, because I don't want also that conflict, that the mare is then feeling that I'm a threat and then we are having a battle and I'm trying to focus on the foal. Or if I've been sometimes in a stable situation, I take the foal out but have the bars in between, that mother is right there.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's generally not 2 days old.
No.
That's, you know, when you're a little bit older and you've maybe done a little bit of handling. But I try to separate it in the group because you're having a conversation and you want that to develop into an intimate conversation. And with the mare there, quite often I have the experience that the mare gets a little break. It's like the parents coming and taking the child for a while.
Yeah.
So the mare kind of is like, oh, good, just take him for a bit, or let me have a rest. Or they like or take notice of the interaction, the development, those sorts of things. But yeah, taking them out of the group means you're getting into that personalized conversation, that intimate conversation, and you don't want other brats coming in, you know, and saying, hey, what are you doing now? And it's like, hey, we're trying, you know. It's like, so the taking away is working best.
Imagine working with Rolex and Netherlands coming.
Yeah, exactly. You just ruined the party immediately.
How do you teach your foal to be a bit more confident overall, or is it just a character?
It's purely in the development. You have seen the difference between Rolex when you first picked him up and how he is now.
Yeah.
So it's, you of course from birth going to get different types. It just depends honestly on the time you spend and how present you are in the moment of training, and what you're looking to get out of it is going to shape and change the development of your foal's character. If you're only looking to get out of it that you need to get a halter on and need to get things done, then you're maybe not going to create a character that is really seeking connection. And you can feel that the gentleness of the foal and the honesty and the purity of it, because you are giving the time to that. You are making awareness of, we're having this conversation, we have our sessions together, our moments. I'm allowing the conversation to flow. If you're only going in and getting something done, you're cutting off a level of development. So, of course, we're all in it for a different reason. We have a different goal, different outcomes, but it is, at the end, it comes down to us.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, chat is going pretty fast. Oh, I'm going to get my foal on the trailer for the first time next week without the mother. How am I going to approach this? The question in itself is already quite interesting.
So, it's...
I'm not sure if it's going to happen next week, if it's going to be on the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a difficult situation. Generally, if I'm in that situation where, you know, you have to do the... Because what you've got actually here is two things. You've got a weaning and a handling at the same time, and then the third thing is the trailer loading. And there's all those things that are in between. Generally, if we are taking the foals to the field and to be weaned, they're going together with another foal, and then, different in Australia, of course, but here when we're doing them in Europe, they were going in a group, either on the field or in the stable, and so we take the foal with the mother on the trailer. The mother goes there, the foal goes in a stable alone next to the mother. They get a little relaxed, the mother goes away, the mother says, oh, thank God that little bugger's gone, or most of the time if it's a foal they've had for a longer period.
I've also had it like when the foals, like also last year, they came with the mother, it was much better. So now I had to pick him up and was with Rolex. He was afraid when I entered the stable. He wasn't used to being led. I was like, oh my God. I said, can't we get the mother? And no. Yeah, it wasn't really nice experience.
I hear that. Of course, not all situations are ideal. We can't have everything as an ideal situation. The ideal thing is to have the foal born at home. The ideal thing is to have a situation where you can train for long enough that the horse understands the situation they're going in. But of course, the best way is not to, in most cases, put the mare and foal in and take the mare away. The best case is to try to spend a little bit of time and give a little bit of security and let the foal come onto the trailer itself and be in a safe situation where you can have a trailer that you're, tying them up when they don't know how to lead, they don't know, is not a good idea. You want to be creating a safe environment where they are able to walk freely, so open, straw in, shavings in, those sorts of things. And that you're aware of that when you're driving, so that you're understanding the balance when they're walking, and then, if people are abusing you, you're driving at the right speed. And then realizing when you come off at the other end, that you have to then first deal with that. Be aware that that was an experience of multiple things happening at once. And so the best way to go about it is, don't think of the goal. If you have to drive there and the situation goes in a way that it doesn't happen that day, better to go back another day. Or if you can't catch, do a little bit the handling. Try to follow the steps we've done today, that you can, or if they've done a little bit of training, that you can get the halter on, and that you can, make an approach. You can, think, okay, how are we going? How is this progressing? Is it smart? Did it take 5 hours? Steady, taking your time. 45 minutes is a long time. If you think of the sessions with the foal, most of the time, if you are walking in a way and you have some support and you take your time, you're not forcing in, you're waiting till the foal relaxes, encouraging him to take a step, you can coach them on. Most of them will be quite willing. And then just be aware of it, Well,
I was in the end lucky that he really liked the horse feed, like the pellets. So he was like going up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. And he was calm in the truck, but it wasn't, it could have been completely different.
No, but I, of course, have been in many situations in that moment where you get called to be that guy, and you just have to play it with compassion and realize what you're putting them through, and then that often allows them to trust enough from that feeling. Not that you think, but I have to get him on because I'm here to pick him up, and you're going to ruin any chance that you've got. So being, having that state of mind and being compassionate, realizing, understanding the situation they're in, that they're leaving mum, that they're going on a trailer, it's all these scary things, letting them feel you understand, take the time to do it, and then giving them the time when they arrive, that they're not thrown in the field, and then, spending the time, giving the time is going to give it back to you in the end.
Okay, last question. How do you deal with kicking foals?
So it's a little bit the same as the connective part in the beginning. This creating the connection, them, how they're approaching, how you walk around them, that they are first giving you the focus of their eyes. Quite often if you have foals that are kicking, it's because they've been approached and they've been forced to do this. And then maybe they've been then continued to be followed, and then they are learning this. So it's very important to get the focus of the eyes. they're on you, you're getting the draw. A horse that is kicking is, a foal that is kicking is generally not a foal that's coming into you and turning and doing this.
Yeah.
If it is, we're doing this part. He's like, oh, hang on a minute. I was thinking about kicking you in the kneecap, but I've just been made aware of this space. So it's that energy thing, it's the eyes thing, and then it's the handling. When you start to make contact, rubbing, getting the bending, the flexing, is this as a nurturing position? They're not feeling like head away, putting a halter on, trying to get it on, head goes away, and then, he's still after me, boom. Yeah. You're getting this part. So the nurturing bit, if you find a horse, foal that's super sensitive, then going for the stick in the beginning. You have it legs distance,
have a bit more distance,
eyes, extension of your arm, you get to touch there, doesn't matter if they kick the stick a few times, but always thinking when a foal does do that, that you're drawing the head and coming towards the hind leg. And when you're getting the focus of the eyes and them wanting to create connection, you have a different thought pattern.
Yeah. So I guess that also then again comes down to that very first part, that I want to have a conversation with you in a polite way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's basically the start of not only the foals, but also all the horses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tristan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It was very interesting to watch. Definitely going to practice. I'm allowed to practice now because, wasn't really allowed to practice.
Yeah, now you don't.
This is Rens. He doesn't know leading, turning, anything. Oh, he does it. Well, depending on if I do it well, of course.
Absolutely. And do we have a winner for our...
Well, good question, because tomorrow we'll announce the winner of the rope halter for foals in the email. And also for all you non-members, we also have a very interesting offer coming up, but we'll tell you more about it in the email tomorrow. So thanks everybody for joining, for sending in questions, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye, have a nice evening.
Thanks guys, see you next time.